Hey guys, thanks for joining us. We'll be starting in just a couple of minutes. Give a chance everybody to come in and get ready. We'll start at like 2:02 Eastern time. Thanks, guys. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Welcome to Keeping Up with Office Protect, your quarterly user meeting of Office Protect. I am Guillaume Boisvert. I'm the, what did I have you listed at? General Manager of Office Protect. Always fun to discover my title as I go day to day. I'm going to have to deal with some afternoon sun, winter sun here in Quebec. I tried my best to block out the window, but clearly did not do a very good job. Let's move on. I'm joined today by Matt Vien, the product sales manager for security here at Sherweb. You met him last quarter meeting. And Camille Loeck, the product owner for Office Protect. She's been around for quite a while now. We put it right up front here, feedback at officeprotect.com. If you have any feedback, if there's anything you want to comment on the product or software at any time during the presentation or more likely at when you're using it, please do provide that feedback. It's invaluable to us. We love getting feedback from our users. A couple of sort of housekeeping items. The webinar is recorded, will be shared with you guys in 24 to 48 hours. If you have questions, please use the Q&A section of the software. We may answer them as we're going through the different subjects, or we may keep it to the end. If we don't answer your question during the webinar, don't worry about it. We'll come back to you directly outside of the context of the webinar. Some questions are just better answered outside of that. Sometimes we just don't have time to get to everybody. Plenty of content today, so I'm going to start moving right through it. As usual, we'll have our product update, upcoming feature, our special content. Let's say this meeting is selling Office Protect 3 practical tips. It's something that we've wanted to do for a while, and Matt and Deanna that you've met before have been selling Office Protect for a bit, and they'll provide some suggestions to you guys for help in selling Office Protect, and then we'll do our Q&A.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today. I'm very happy and excited to show you what we've been working on during the last 3 months. So let's start with the Autotask connector update. We are still in a beta phase on it. We still have work to do on it actually, and we still find things as long as the beta testers use it. So during the beta phase, we've added the QID field. This was a required field in some organizations among our beta testers. So we've added it in the ticket creation form. And we've also added a test ticket feature in the form directly to confirm that the configuration you've chosen in Office Protect is the right one. So when clicking on the send test ticket, you will be able to see if the tickets can be correctly created in your environment. The beta phase is still open to anybody who wants to join, so feel free to send us an email at feedback@Office Protect, and we'll be happy to onboard you. Guillaume, if you can switch to this. Thank you. About the user requested improvements, we've noticed in the digest emails that these emails could be too big sometimes to be displayed in Outlook correctly. So we've added a note, if you have more than 100 events that are sent through the digest emails, so on big organizations, we won't display all of them, and you will have a banner asking you to go check in your report section in Office Protect if you want to have the overlook. We've also added, thanks to user feedback, a profile deletion feature on your settings. So if you go in your set section, you can see now in the profile menu that you have a small cross next to each of the profiles. You can delete them, but you can only do it if no tenant is attached to it. So if the profile is not applied on any of your tenants, if you try to delete one that's applied to your tenant, you will have a delete pop-up that shows up to ask you to remove it from the tenant. Now let's talk about the biggest features we've been working on in the last 3 months. We've added in the set section 3 new team settings to make sure that your team's environment is correctly secured. We've added the control guest access to limit the guest permissions in your environment. The block custom apps to make sure that the users in your environment are not installing some like suspicious apps in your team's environment, and the block third-party cloud storage one, which aim to block the other storage than the Microsoft products to make sure that the traceability on your files can be correctly kept. I will go back on these settings during the demo. I will talk about the options later. Next one is the whitelist rules. I don't know if you already went through it in the portal, but this feature has been developed so you can avoid getting some security events on some normal business operations in your organization. I will go through some use cases during the demonstration, but you can now create some rules to avoid being alerted on some specific criteria, and you can also apply these rules on a limited period of time. For example, if you have someone in a business trip in your organization, you don't want to be alerted on sign-in from unauthorized countries, so you can now do it. And you can also review all of the existing rules on your tenant. But I will go into details during the demo. And the last one is remediation actions. This is a big change in Office Protect. It's not released as of now. It will be published in the next few days in Office Protect. So it's normal if you cannot see it in your portal as of now, but I will demo it today also. We are very happy about it. We've been working hard on it during the past 3 months. This feature, the aim is to give you some options to mitigate some risky situations on your organization. To do that, we've added some more details on the events, and we still are adding some things and working to develop some new features in it. And you have 2 new actions in Office Protect, which are block a compromised user and remove a suspicious application on your organization to make sure that you can act quickly and simply without having to go through the admin portal, the Microsoft admin portals, to make sure that the situation is mitigated and to limit the damage a hacker can perform on your organization. If you have any suggestions on remediation actions you would like to see in Office Protect, please reach out to feedback@officeprotect.com. We'll be very happy to get your suggestions and feedback. Also, this is the first iteration of the feature, so we are still developing some new actions right now, and you will have some new actions in the next couple of months. So let's switch to the demo. Let me share my screen. Guillaume, I think you have to stop recording. Thank you. All right. Can you see my screen? Yeah. All right. So let's start with the team settings. So in the set section, you now have the team section here. And you have the 3 settings that I just talked about, which are the block third-party cloud storage. Options are block all, allow all, and do not modify. We recommend using the block all option, but if you want to use, for any reason, one of the third-party cloud storage apps, such as Google Drive, Box, Citrix, etc., you can choose the do not modify option, so Office Protect will not change your configuration. This setting in Microsoft can be found in the Teams Admin Center under Teams, Team Settings, and here you have the options. Now, the second one is the block custom apps. So on the Teams apps marketplace, you have some apps managed by Microsoft and produced by Microsoft. You have some third-party apps and you have some custom apps. Our recommendation is to block all of the custom apps, but you can also choose to allow them if your organization requires it. And you can also choose the do not modify option if you need, for example, some users to access custom apps and not others. These are managed in the permission policies here under the Teams app section. And you have a couple, you can create any app permissions policies. For example, here I have a specific app permission for the sales team, and I can choose in any of them to allow the Microsoft apps, the third-party apps, and the custom apps. And the last one is about what guests can access in your organization when they are invited. In here, you have a few options. The allow guests that will allow guests to sign in to your Teams environment and to perform some private calls, to send some private messages, to use the Meet Now feature in Teams. You have the block guest option, which is no guest in your Teams environment. They will be invited to join meetings, but they will not be able to sign in through your Teams environment with their guest accounts. And our recommendation is to use the control guest access. So guests can sign in with their guest account, but they won't be able to perform some actions like send private messages, the Mint Now feature, or call privately users in your organization. So we recommend using this one to avoid phishing attacks or that kind of things in your Teams environment. And this setting can be found under Users, Guest Access. Here, you have all of the options available for your guest permissions. Now, if I go to the report section, I want to discuss with you a couple use cases you can found on your organizations. Let's start with a sign-in from an authorized country that was raised by Dwight in Malaysia. You can see here that you can now click on all of the rows in the table. So if I click on this one, I can access a new page which contains the event description. This is the description that is sent to you by email or through your ConnectWise and Autotask environment. You can see whether the event has been ignored and how it's been ignored, whether through a rule or manually. If it's not ignored, then you can ignore it from here. And you have a section here with all of the remediation actions that Office Protect offers to you. So for example, here I can act on Dwight. I can see that his account is active and that it's a regular user. By regular user means they have no admin privileges on your tenant. And you also have a how to react tab here. This is all of the recommendations we have for you if you have any of these security events. So they are specific to each security event. So recommendations and explanation on why it should be treated as a suspicious event. Now, in this use case, so Dwight accessed his account from Malaysia. I know that Dwight is in a business trip in Malaysia. He's in Malaysia for 2 weeks. I don't want to receive any sign-in from an authorized country from Malaysia for Dwight because I know it's a normal behavior. So I want to ignore it, but I don't want to ignore it for all of my users across my tenants. So if I click ignore here, I can see that my event has been ignored successfully, but it will not prevent similar cases to be raised in the future. So to prevent that, I need to create a whitelist rule. You have all of the event details in here. If I click create rule, I access a form in which I can select all of the criteria on which I want my security event to be ignored in the future. So right there, I will select Dwight, who is in Malaysia, and I don't want to be alerted with when Dwight signs in from Malaysia, but I don't want to be alerted only for 2 weeks because he comes back home on the 26th. So selecting my period here, creating my rule, and I can see it in the Whitelist Rule Manager here. I can edit my rule if I want to change the criteria, or I can delete it from here. If I go back to my report section, so I can see that my event is not here anymore, it's in the Ignore tab, and I can go to the next one. In here, I can see that Michael Scott accessed his account from Germany. I know for a fact that Michael Scott is not in Germany right now, so I need to treat it as a suspicious behavior, and I need to investigate. So Michael Scott is an active user, is an active regular user, sorry. And if I select it here, I can see a few options I can do to mitigate the situation and to limit the risk if a hacker has accessed his account. First, I can disable the user. This will prevent the user from signing in your environment until he's been unblocked. I can revoke all of his active sessions. So wherever Michael is signed in, if I revoke his session, everybody will be kicked out from the account, and nobody will be able to access the account if I disable it before. And I also have two options here regarding his mailbox. I can remove the mailbox forwarding setting. So I can check in the Exchange Admin Center. Here I have Michael Scott. I can check whether his emails are being forwarded to any other email address. It's the case here. So I may need to remove this mailbox forwarding to limit data extraction on the account.
You can also see it in the health status section, right? If he has mailbox forwardings.
This one is an internal forwarding. So in the status, you can see external forwarding, but yes.
No, but so if an attacker is forwarding externally, you would see it, and you wouldn't have to go to Microsoft. You could check health status.
Absolutely.
Just a quick note on the block user, like that's a super interesting thing that I want to make sure I draw a little bit of attention to. Like, first of all, it's great that you can now do this through Office Protect directly, but a lot of people confuse like blocking an hacked account and just disabling a user. Disabling a user is one of the things that you want to do for sure. Revoke session is an interesting one because, like, I don't know if you guys have been victim of this, but we've seen it quite a bit recently, is session hijacking. So you are a good MSP and you have 2FA to protect your clients, and they still get breached. What we've seen generally is it means that somebody hijacked a session where the MFA was already sort of validated. And so doing revoke session will stop those people that are already sort of engaged in that session. And if they don't have MFA access, which usually they don't because they're just hijacking sessions, then they will lose access completely. Like the revoke session is an important part. We've also seen a lot of partners where they're not sure if there's really a problem. Often they'll take the revoke session, just the revoke session step, to force the person to re-sign in, redo the MFA if they have to do it, just to make sure, like, it's sort of it's not as intrusive as completely disabling the account and suspending it. And it just forces the user to go through authentication again, which will take them like a couple of seconds. So it might be a good way when you're not sure, like it might be sort of a minimum step to take when you have doubts on an account.
Yeah. And last one is the disable inbox rules on the mailbox. So we've seen quite a few cases of hackers getting access to a mailbox and creating some inbox rules that would forward all of the emails into a folder that nobody checks, for example, the RSS feed folder. or some rules that would lead to phishing attacks or things like this, or that would prevent the user to be notified that it's been compromised. So disabling the inbox rule will disable all of the rules on the mailbox, and you will be able to review them afterwards. So we don't remove any of the inbox rules, we just disable them. However, the mailbox forwarding can only be removed. You can select one or many options. So let me show you when I select them all. I click block user, and I have the feedback on each of the actions. So now the user has been disabled. If I go to the Microsoft admin portal, I look for Michael Scott. Oh, sorry. Looks like Microsoft is not reactive.
Yeah, you're faster than Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, let me check. Yeah, it's Michael Scott.
So commonly, what's the delay that we've seen? Like a few seconds?
Yeah. So right here, you can see that the sign-in is blocked for Michael Scott. I can also check if the forwarding setting has been removed. Let me refresh. All right. So no forwarding options are set currently on the mailbox. So it's been removed. And now in Office Protect, you can see that the user has been blocked. To unblock the user, you can go in the admin portal and click unblock sign-in. We are working to add it in Office Protect also to restore the situation. Now that my event has been remediated, I can go to the next one. I have an event triggered by Apache SharePoint through Backupify. It's a sign-in from an unauthorized country from the United States. I have no remediation action because we cannot act on Apache SharePoint user. However, this is part of my normal business operations. I'm using Backupify. So again, I can choose to ignore these events to prevent the noise on my tenant. I create a rule and I can select Apache SharePoint, United States, and in application, I can select Backupify. So anytime there will be a sign-in on Apache SharePoint through Backupify from the United States, I won't be alerted anymore. Here, Backupify, and I can create my rule. And again, I'm taken to the Whitelist Rules Manager, and I can see my rule here that I can edit or delete. Let's go back to the report section. I have a last use case to discuss with you. I can see that a suspicious user on my tenant has consented to a suspicious app, so it might be suspicious. The first thing I can do here is to, again, block the user. However, this is a privileged admin user. That means to disable him, I will need to go through a couple of steps more than the regular user I just showed you. And I can also revoke his session. So revoking his session will not trigger any further steps. I don't have the remove mailbox forwarding or the disable inbox rules here because the user has no mailbox. So I don't need to act on it. Now let me show you when I block the user, I will be asked to sign in with an admin on the tenant. So this user needs to have the user administrator role or the global administrator role. I select my account. I'm redirected again to Office Protect. And my suspicious user is being blocked. Now that this user has been blocked, I can act on the application too. This is a suspicious application. I don't want it to access the data on my tenant, and I don't want it to have permissions on my tenant. So I can remove it directly from here. You can review the application permissions from the app registrations in the Entra Admin Center. So here it is, suspicious app. I want to remove it. If I click remove app, you don't need to have a oh, sorry. Looks like there's a glitch. Okay, so I think it's been removed already when clicking on it. I go back. All right, so the application has been deleted. I can see it here, suspicious app that's been deleted. It's not in my applications anymore. And from there, I can restore the app registration if I consider it as legitimate. So I can do that on user consented to app events, but also on the new Teams app installed in Teams. So you will have kind of the same behavior. However, in Teams, it's a bit specific because the Teams apps can be reviewed in the Teams admin portal, and you can also sometimes see them in the app registrations, but not all of them. Guillaume, do you want to talk about the perfect data application?
Yeah, I'll just take a second because I want to respect the time that we have for Matt. But so about removal of app, like we've had a few cases recently that was the same thing that I was talking about. Then I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's a software called Perfect Data Software. It's a legitimate software that helps you to download the content from your Microsoft 365. But it's been co-opted by hackers as well, and they use it when they get access to your account. It will download everything. So it's something to look out for. Office Protect will alert you. Personally, I would use our setting that is do not allow third-party applications, which would prevent any regular user from accepting the installation of Perfect Data. Camille is showing where here. But also we'll alert you, and if you see an event once the remediations are live, you'll be able to go in and remove it quite quickly. So that's also a pretty good idea as well. But so that's just one of the many ways that we tie the things that we're adding. They're very tied to reality, like of what's happening and what's currently attacking Microsoft 365.
And just a quick adding on this, we are also working on a new event type to monitor the application permissions. So whenever some applications are added or removed from an application in your tenant, you will be alerted to.
So just a quick mention, there's going to be a blog post about what I just talked about, like the attack that we've been seeing. So I don't think it's live just yet, but it should be up like in the next couple of days. So watch Sherweb.com/blog. There's going to be a post on that on those attacks.
So that's all for the demo. Please let us know if you have any comments or suggestions or evolutions, ideas on the remediation section. So what I've just showed you, I will be very happy to have your feedback and to make sure that this feature answers your needs. Thank you.
Thanks, Camille. So we should be back to the demo slide. Just want to make sure that yeah. Okay. It's my first day. I don't know how to use all those software. So quick words on some upcoming features. This is what we're working on. So the remediation that you just saw is a big part of what we've been working on. It's a big step for Office Protect to not be just monitoring, but also to help you to resolve those issues reactively, let's say, because we had the proactive settings. Now we're adding the reactive remediation. Something that people have been asking for a long time. We're very excited about it. What you saw is the very first version, and already I'm very jazzed about it. So as we add more things, I think that will expand the usefulness of Office Protect for all of you. we're going to add an MFA dashboard. So basically what that will do is it will show you the current state of your tenant when it comes to MFA compliance. So more and more people are using MFA, which is great. Microsoft 365 does not make it as easy as they should to know if you are completely 100% covered with MFA, like compliant, if you will, especially if you have a compliance requirement that's particularly problematic. We've been working with some of our bigger, closest partners to build this out and ground it in reality. And that may sound completely trivial, like, well, just like go to the Microsoft setting that says they have MFA and display it. Oh, I wish I would be that simple. We'll talk about it more when we release it, which will be in the next few months. I'm hopeful that at the next quarterly meeting, we'll have a lot more. And we could talk about how sort of it's kind of trickier than it sounds, not to do the report, but for you guys to be like sure that you're 100% protected by MFA. So public vulnerability assessment tool is a public tool to do vulnerability assessment, not public vulnerabilities. So we're working on it's more of a sales tool that you could present to your clients using the vulnerability assessment. And then a completely new onboarding journey. This may not apply as much to the people that are here on the call because you're veterans and you know how the software works and everything, but we want to make it easier for people that get into Office Protect to get the maximum value like right away, to understand all the feature, make sure they're configured as good as possible. So those are all things that are coming. I'm very excited about all of them. I think the remediation, the MFA dashboard, and the public vulnerability tool are all things that are going to make a big difference in your use of Office Protect. I don't go into full details because that will take an hour, but if anything here sounds like rings a bell for you and you want to ask about it or give us some feedback on what you think would be great, send us an email or put a comment or question directly here in the tool for the webinar. That'd be great. If you have any questions, don't hesitate. Anything about the demo that was just done by Camille, fire away. Let's move on to Matt from the sales team here at Sherweb. Well, it's going to talk about a few practical tips for selling Office Protect.
All right. Thank you, Guillaume. Thank you, Cami. A lot of exciting stuff we got coming up here. You can go right back to that one, Guillaume. That's no problem. So just to give a quick background for everybody, before I kind of jump in, for those of you who I've not worked with yet, I am our product sales manager for our security portfolio at Sherweb, which of course includes Office Protect, right? And for the last 5 years or so, I've been working directly with MSPs in the channel focused on cybersecurity. And one thing that we all know is that the cyber threat landscape has changed quite a bit over the last few years, right? So one of the things that I do with a lot of our partners, maybe some of you on this call, is we'll go through essentially a security consultation, right? Peel back the layers, identify, what does your current security posture look like? And how can we improve it? And a lot of times that includes building a security stack, a bundle, right? And choosing different products and solutions. And almost every single one of those calls, that stack includes Office Protect. And there's, the obvious reasons for that of its uniqueness. There's not a lot of competition, but we know that there's a need for it, right? And most of the time, our partners that I work with on this, the challenge isn't for you as the MSP to be sold on its use, right? We know that it's going to improve your day-to-day and your team and your operational efficiency. But what we see sometimes is, the question of, well, how do we get our clients to buy in, right? How do we then relay this message and bring it home, essentially, right? So when we look at that, I dive into security in general of exciting them and getting them to understand, what does it mean? So when we jump into Office Protect specifically, I'm going to run through a couple of quick tips and tricks that a lot of our partners have used and found it to be really helpful, right? Because number one, generate what-if questions. In security in general, how often do you talk to your clients, especially small to medium-sized clients that just don't think it can happen to them, right? They're not going to fall victim. They're not going to get hit with ransomware or click on that link, right? And that alone is one of the biggest humps to get over for the MSP space in the security, right? But if you can get your clients to understand, what could happen if you don't have Office Protect in place, right? That is really, really going to be a helpful tactic, right? And we put together a few just kind of suggestion questions. For example, if you talk to a client and you are a prospective client, right? Ask them very straightforward. Hey, how long would it take for you to know that somebody accessed your account from an unauthorized country, right? If one of your employees' accounts got logged in from Russia today, how quickly would you know that, right? That's a question that most of the time I bet your clients really won't know the answer to, right? Is it going to be too late? Have they already, completed a transfer of funds or gathered the intel that they need? Number two, how damaging would it be for your clients to find out that you've been hacked? That's a very straightforward one. Obviously, credibility, reputation plays a big part in this, and getting them to understand the repercussions of not having a layer in between there to proactively figure out where these compromises are coming from, right? It's going to get them to start to, the wheels will start spinning, and you'll see that very quickly. A couple of quick others here. Would you know if your IT guy was reading your emails? I love that one, because how many of you think that if you asked your clients right now how many of their employees or if they were to dissect their tenant, how many of them have admin rights, right?
The idea here was really to these were thought of for prospective clients more than your current clients, and they're there to generate a non-answer, meaning when we were sort of talking about these, I would say most typically the answer that would get to those questions would be that's the answer that you should be expecting, and that's the perfect answer, because it's really this destabilizing. If they go, no, our IT is fine, we don't need an MSP, they probably do. I think we can all agree. But you have to sort of destabilize them a little bit. And those questions are really meant to sort of make them go, well, probably Steve in accounting would get that email because he's the one who bought Microsoft 365. And you're like, well, does Steve in accounting know how to react to a security issue? Wouldn't you rather you as the MSP, wouldn't you rather have us deal with it? And then usually that goes to some pretty productive conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And to Guillaume's point there, most of our clients, they look to you as the MSP, right? They'll say, oh, well, I thought you had that covered, right? And that's where the education piece, it really, really plays a big role. I was on a call with a partner just last week, and we were in one of their orgs. I think they had around 70 users, and every single user in that tenant had admin access. So in that sense, right, Steve from accounting, his account gets compromised. Well, now they've got the keys to the vault, right? Everybody is now exposed. So it's just little things like that. You open the door, you get your foot in there, and you're going to have some serious conversations there. For time's sake, let's go to the next one here. So in addition to asking that what if, a lot of questions then come, well, when do we ask that, right? When do we have those conversations, right? If you have this, and this works for existing clients, but also new prospective clients. Right off the bat, quarterly business views. If you're an MSP and you're not conducting QBRs with all of your clients, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity, right? It's a perfect, not only is it a way to maintain long-term relationships with your clients, but it's to discuss the changing landscape, right? The threats that are out there are constantly changing. The technologies are improving. This allows you to generate that conversation about the what ifs, right? And the whole idea for this really is the proactive versus the reactive approach, right? And Office Protect allows you to utilize the information and the data to give them a proactive conversation, right? Couple bullet points at the bottom there, right? Let's say you've got a client that is venturing down a new vertical, right? Maybe they're getting into some sort of banking, they're integrating their systems with something that requires different compliance requirements, different regulations, cyber insurance, right? Check boxes. It's a perfect opportunity for you as the MSP to have those conversations and say, hey, we need to prepare ahead of time for this, right? Office Protect can scan, we can go through, we can show you these vulnerabilities and get them to really think about it. Because again, human nature, right? We don't know what we don't know. And most of the time clients think, well, I have you to tell me what I don't know. And that's exactly right? So you as the MSP, you can show them that information ahead of time, and hopefully that light bulb goes off and they say, oh, wow, you know what, let's go ahead, sign us up, right? So
Yeah.
couple points to think about.
Like exactly right. The idea here is off-text sale is so much easier when it's the client basically asking for it. It's like that's what we're trying to use as those. What we're trying to leverage those triggers too is to make it so that basically the fact that you have to add Office Protect to your client comes from a request that they made instead of having to push it. Because we know what it is. Like you have an existing contract, nobody wants to pay more money for security. You want to put Office Protect on everybody, but it's hard. So these are trying to highlight, like basically these are your clients asking for Office Protect. Like they're opening the door at least. So all those things are really your triggers to try and have an easier conversation of bringing new, and we say Office Protect. You can bring a lot more than just Office Protect when those doors are open. You should review, like Matt said, the whole security stack, your services. Like it's not all about Sherweb. Like if you can introduce more service, professional service, or even just security service, those are all great opportunities.
Yeah, exactly. And no, there's no better sale than the one that gets literally hand delivered to you, right? Especially in this space. So the final piece, I know we're getting close to time here. The final kind of tip that we got here is this one's really simple. It's just utilize the tools that you have, right? For any of you that are active Office Protect partners, which I think most of you are, you are hopefully aware of the vulnerability assessment, right? When you activate a new client, right off the bat, you get a vulnerability assessment, right? Go through that. You sit down at a QBR and go through this vulnerability assessment with your clients. Show them the fact that right now there's nothing to prevent dangerous files from coming in, right? I think it's like 94% of all the data breaches that occur require some sort of human interaction to succeed, right? If you have nothing preventing those dangerous files from coming in on links and URLs, how many of your clients are equipped enough and trained enough to not open that up or click on it, right? So utilize that. And then one other thing, keep in mind for a prospective client, a brand new client, when you add a new tenant with Sherweb Roll 365, you automatically get an Office Protect trial. You get a free trial for 30 days. Use the assessment. That should be the first thing that you do with that new client you just brought on. It's going to look very impressive to them as well, because they're going to see that you and your team have gone above and beyond and really, really care about, protecting this client and their organization. So just
bringing
keep that in mind.
immediate value, right?
Yeah, exactly. Looks like we got a poll here for everyone.
Yeah, quick poll that's related to this last selling tip. And if you have questions about the selling tip, like definitely ask. Matt loves to have a conversation about that. Like it's a big thing. So I can't see the poll. I don't know if you guys can see it. I hope so. Basically, the question, like, do you use the current vulnerability assessment when you're trying to do sales? Simple questions, kind of curious. Like, I think it's underutilized features of Office Protect. If you're adding to existing clients, you definitely don't want to point out anything that you didn't do and you probably should have. That's fair. But when it comes to transferring new clients in or anything like that, or doing a security review, certainly a very, very useful tool.
Yeah. And it looks like we just got some of the answers back. A lot more no's than yeses, which is interesting.
So if you want to put comments in the chat or in the question section, whichever, about why not use it, I'm kind of curious to see. It's not like, again, I don't hold it against anybody. Like, I'm just curious, the sort of the reasoning and all that. So we're gonna move on from the poll. Thank you for answering, for the people that answered.
One last thing I'll add, Guillaume, is just for on the security consultation aspect. Again, just throwing it out there. If anybody on this call wants to go through something like that, feel free to reach out to me. Reach out to your account manager. This can extend beyond just the Office Protect conversation. But again, if you are able to then have a set security stack in your MSA that you can scale to all of your clients, your sales, your marketing, your processes are going to really, really, you're going to find that they're going to be a lot more simplified. So please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to dissect with you.
Yeah, standardization is a big thing. I think that's part of like, people are surprised when they have fewer options, they end up with more business. Like it's kind of a weird thing, but when you know what you're doing, you can just sort of focus. Like it brings often like better results. Thanks, Matt, for the advice and the points. I think those are all very actionable, which is always kind of nice. Like just saying, like the market of cybersecurity is up 23% doesn't really help anybody. Like I think all those you can really put into practice like today and see a difference. So do take advantage of Matt. Like at some point his time is going to run out on giving this consultation and everything, but right now he's available. So I would certainly take advantage. More general contact information. If there's anything we can do for you, like Office Protect is your product, it's our product. Any feedback, any contact, anything is always very appreciated. We always get very good suggestions from our user around how to improve the product. Keep them coming. We've been delivering on new features at an increased pace. I hope you guys see that. And we totally intend to keep that going. Expect the next Keeping Up with Office Protect to be around the beginning of March. Obviously, we'll send you an invitation at that time, and we hope to see you then. If you have questions or anything, send them to us. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.